We may have a few more people trickle in, but what do you say we go ahead and get started?
Sounds good to me.
All right. All right. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the YK Connect and Protect web series. You guys know me. I'm Russell Kotcher, president here at YK Communications, proud broadband nerd and self-declared champion of GoldenEye 007 from back in the day.
Awesome. And I'm Liz. I'm your go-to gaming and internet guru here at YK. Today we're going to break down how to create the ultimate gaming setup from your broadband connection to your Wi-Fi settings, basically leveling up your own personal digital fortress.
That's right. We've got trivia giveaways, special offers just for our viewers, so stick around. And before we kind of jump into things, I'll do a quick introduction of Hannah. We'll give her more of a formal introduction before we jump into her portion. But we are happy to have our very first ever guest speaker on the YK Connect and Protect web series. Glad to have you, Hannah.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. And I thought we could all start off today by talking about what is our own personal all-time favorite game that we've ever played. Doesn't matter how old it is, doesn't matter what console, what platform. When you think about like back in the day over the years, what is your favorite video game that you've ever played?
So I'll go first. I think I have two favorites.
Okay.
I have number one is Mario Kart, 1000% all-time favorite. And
Yep, that's a
then
good one.
taking it back to those original Nintendo days, Duck Hunt. That was one of my favorites when I was a kid.
You actually kind of stole my Liz. I was going to go with Duck Hunt. We did not plan that out
We
well.
should have discussed this.
One of my sons just told me the other day that if you shine a flashlight at the end of the duck hunt gun, then you win every time. Apparently, that's
Really?
the hack the kids know now. I had no idea.
I didn't know that anybody still had their duck hunt gun.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It is
Dang,
special for my son.
lucky.
All
I
right.
wish
Well,
I
I've
still
got
had
my
that.
my two were 007 and Duck Hunt. But yeah, definitely some Mario Kart in there. Hannah, what's your favorite?
I really love Diddy Kong Racing from Nintendo 64. Like everyone got Mario Kart and I got Diddy Kong when we got a 64 system. I always thought it was because it was like cooler, but I'm pretty sure that Mario Kart was sold out that Christmas. And so we just got Diddy Kong and I got really good at it.
Nice. Yeah, the 64 was a pretty darn good platform. I'd be willing to say probably one of the best ones, but we won't get into that heated debate here today. All right, guys. Well, we're going to jump in today. We're going to do a quick look back at kind of the history of gaming. I'm going to take that, and then at that point, I'm going to pass it over to our guest speaker, Hannah, to talk about gaming benefits and connections made through esports. At that point, then Liz is going to take over and give us a little bit of a tech talk, talking about optimizing your connection for gaming. And then, just like every other time, we're going to talk about how you can access support from those of us here at YK anytime that you need help. We'll do some Q&A. If you've got questions that come up during the presentation, whether it's any part that Hannah's talking about, Liz is talking about, go ahead and drop those questions in the chat box, the Q&A, and we'll get to those at the end of the session. We'll also talk about our next upcoming event in July. We'll do a promotional offering and we'll end with a gift card so that lunch is on us for one of our lucky live attendees. So let's go ahead and jump right into a quick look back. And I don't know, do you guys recognize that picture? Does that feel foreign to you? Do you remember those days?
It gives me Pizza Hut vibes.
Pizza Hut? I was thinking
Yes,
what at the Victoria Mall, was it Tilt?
yes, that one
Yeah,
too.
yes, it's giving me Tilt vibes. But for those of us who remember the early days, gaming used to be something that you did in an arcade with a joystick and a simple game, something like Pac-Man. You pump a few quarters in, and a few minutes later, the game would pretty much be over. And that was typically the case for me. But here we are now. We've got online multiplayer games, a total immersive virtual reality world, and the rise of esports has just kind of become this overall global phenomenon. Gaming has evolved at a rapid pace. You've got all the way back from the early 90s when we pick up a console, and the idea of connecting to someone half across the world was just kind of a dream and a foreign thought. You fast forward to today, and we've got MMOs, massively multiplayer online games. You've got battle royales and a network of players who are more connected than they ever have been before. What's kind of been the key factor in that transformation? Obviously, it's been the internet. Online gaming has become possible with the rise of high-speed internet and broadband connections, allowing gamers to link up, battle it out, and collaborate across borders in real time. And broadband is not just the backbone for our online gaming experience, it's what has connected the whole world and made this experience possible. So before we talk more about how to improve your broadband for gaming, let's talk about how gaming itself has changed over the years. From the introduction of home consoles from the 1980s, like the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I will admit, guys, the NES was my first platform. I grew up in a house that had an Atari. I remember playing games on the Atari. That was kind of my dad's console, and I got to participate, but it was 1985. It was under the Christmas tree on Christmas morning. It was purchased here in Ganado, Texas at Western Auto. And it was my first console, was the Nintendo Entertainment System. And mine was blown. I don't know. I'd love to know how many hours I logged on that thing. But from systems like the Nintendo Entertainment System to the explosion of online gaming with platforms like Xbox Live in the early 2000s, gaming has been about one thing, and that's pushing those boundaries. With gaming become more immersive, the need for faster, more reliable broadband has increased, and that's where folks like us here at YK come into play. So before we kind of pass it off to Hannah and talk about those experiences through gaming, what do you say we jump into a quick poll, guys? I'm going to launch our first poll. And what is your favorite way to play? Are you a console person? You like to be on that Xbox, PlayStation? Are you PC? Maybe you've got that really nice setup and your keyboard and mouse glows and you hear the humming of the CPU. Maybe you're a mobile gamer. You like to take it with you everywhere you go and just have that available. Or maybe those cloud-based platforms, those subscription type setups where you've got the Xbox Game Pass, GeForce Now, things like that. Where are we at? And give it just another second here while they're answering. What's your answer, guys? What's your favorite platform?
So I'd have to say
Sorry.
for
Go
me,
ahead.
it would be definitely a console.
Console?
I do very little mobile games.
Yeah. How about you, Hannah?
I have a PC that I play on, but it's only because I don't really know how to use the controller. So
Okay,
keyboard and mouse I can do just fine.
fair enough. All right, well, I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share those results. And it looks like we've got about 2/3 of our group today or prefer to be on a console and about 1/3 on the PC. So that gives us a little read of our group today. Now, I am going to introduce Hannah and pass it over to her as we talk about gaming benefits and connections made through esports. So our special guest today, someone who truly understands how gaming has evolved and has been helping create global connections in the process. Please welcome Hannah Bouquet, TEDx presenter that was in Sioux Falls recently. She is marketing manager for SDN Communications and is the co-lead at Sodak Circuit Esports. That is a mouthful, Hannah.
Yes, it is. That's a long title. I just say it to myself every morning to make me feel really good.
I get that, and I love that for you. And Hannah and I have gotten to be great friends, started out as industry friends, what, 4 or 5 years ago as we started working
Yeah,
through a
it was
couple of
about that.
connections. Yeah,
Hmm.
and Hannah and I have got to be great friends and love to share things around marketing and gaming and raising kids and all things around that. We are really excited to have you here today, Hannah. And I'm going to start off and let's see, we want to share pictures of your kids first.
Yeah, we can do that. We can show those little cuties.
All right. So, Hannah, to start off, let's go back to the beginning. What was the moment that you realized that gaming might actually help you connect with your kids instead of pulling you apart? I think so many parents look at gaming as like something that stands in the way of their
Mhm.
relationship with their kids. Um, Tell us, a little bit about how you actually found that as a way to connect.
Yeah, so back when my kids were little, I think a lot of parents can relate. Like when my three boys were small, they would just climb onto my lap and ask me to read them stories or sing them songs, and connection was just so easy for me. That is the language that I speak is cuddling my children and being close to them. And now my kids are 10, 12, and 14. And for a few years now, I've been feeling like the connection that we had that was so close has kind of been slipping away, that they're not trying to have these deep conversations with me anymore. And I've been watching my kids play video games for quite a few years. I'm sure a lot of parents see from the outside and see their kids playing, but it's something that I just really had no interest in until I had a pretty genius, in my opinion, idea. And my idea was, what if instead of just watching from the outside, what if I learned to play the games that they love to play with them? And what if I could speak that same language that they speak and connect with them that way? So I decided to jump into their wonderful world of Fortnite one night. And I'm going to just paint the picture of what happened because it's one of my favorite stories. Um, my kids were all at their dad's house this night, and they all had their headsets on and their little consoles. And I was at home with my PC. Like I said, that's the one I know how to use. So I had my
Right.
headset on the PC, and we all dropped into Fortnite. And immediately, my kids were off racking up points, opening treasure chests, and I was spinning in a circle, not sure how to open a door. I can't open a treasure chest. And I swear it was maybe 30 seconds before I had to tell my kids that I was shot and I'm down. So at that point, I was, a little bit embarrassed and afraid of how they would react to my complete failure in video games. And to my surprise, instead of pushing me away, my oldest son goes, "Okay, mom, hold on, I'll be right there." And the next thing I know, he is running over and just building a structure out of literally nothing, in my opinion. I had no idea what he was doing, and lays his hand over my character and starts healing me. So like that was pretty cool.
Right.
My second son, he's a little feral, and in his headphone, exasperated sigh, and says, "Fine, mom, I'm on my way." And this child comes driving a semi truck and crashes through the wall that his brother just made, hops out of the semi truck in a full body banana costume, and lays his hand on top of me. I don't know the last time I was laughing so hard. And like, yes, I was bad at it, but that was the moment that they decided that they were going to teach me how to do this better. And that's really the moment where we started connecting in a different sort of way.
That's awesome. I've got some similar stories. I definitely don't want to pull for you from yours, but yeah, it's the first time I played. I wish someone had videoed me the first time I played Fortnite just to see the sheer look of panic and screaming and cussing and
Yes.
everything all at the same time.
I know. I was laughing so hard, and my kids, they were I think they were maybe laughing at me, which was fine, but like the ultimate solution was that they were going to help me.
Awesome. And so here they are a little bit more grown up.
Yeah, that was just this year. So they're all big now. My 14-year-old is 6'3" or 6'2 3/4 now, which is bonkers. They grow up so quick.
Nice.
Awesome. So, Hannah, how did playing Fortnite together shift the dynamic between you and your sons?
I love talking about this because when we first started, one of my fears, of course, is like, I don't know how to do this. So that's scary. And then the other fear is like, what if I'm holding my kids back? Like, I don't want to jump into their world and be that person that doesn't know how to do anything. And I'm the reason that they've failed. But I found out that while I was sort of holding them back, they really didn't mind because it shifted the dynamic of our relationship in such a way that they were the coaches and I was the student. That a lot of times, parents, we teach our kids so many things, and that's just the role that we always take. And this was an opportunity for the roles to reverse, really, and for them to teach me something that I didn't know. And, while I was learning that, I got to be a good student for them and also give that example back and forth of teaching and learning. And when I was actually preparing for my TED Talk, I had been talking to somebody about that dynamic. And she shared with me that when people are mentoring teenagers and high school students, if they are able to teach you something, that is one of the best ways to connect with a student. So allowing a kid to teach you something is just a very powerful way to connect with your kids. So for me, it was really the ability to be vulnerable and to try something that I'm not good at, and be open to learning.
Yeah. And another thought, and so many parents feel nervous about their kids playing online.
Mhm.
How did jumping into that world for yourself change the way that you kind of approach online safety?
Yeah, that's another really great question. And playing online is such a complex issue for so many parents. And it's complex because it's valid. Like we hear every day about stories of predators in those spaces or like scary interactions. And so I think a natural reaction is just to block it and say, no, you can't do this. But it just doesn't teach our children anything. And so when I was online with them, when I am online with them, I get a firsthand glimpse into how this communication happens. And instead of just putting a roadblock in front of any communication, I get to help coach them how to handle those relationships and that communication. I think the other part that is interesting is while as parents we have so many fears of like what if this is a scary predator, majority of people in those spaces are other kids. And I've
Right.
heard so many stories of adults now having connected with people through the experiences of playing online together. So if we prevent it, it definitely can prevent real meaningful lifelong relationships in the future. So rather than blocking it, I think it's important to understand and to be there with your kids to help coach them through those experiences and help keep them safe.
Good deal. So you've kind of seen firsthand how kids grow through esports. What surprised you the most about the benefits beyond just playing the game?
There were so many surprising things for me. And so I don't think in Texas you guys haven't sanctioned esports in schools, have you?
I don't think so.
Not that I
No.
know of.
Okay, so in South Dakota, which is where I'm from, we had just this last year, schools across the state sanctioned it as an extracurricular activity.
Okay,
So
nice.
yeah, it's very cool. And so now students across our state are able to be involved in esports as an extracurricular, the same as they would be for football or baseball in other schools. In South Dakota, some of those benefits are that esports was legitimized for students who this is their passion and something that they really enjoy. And now they can plug in with their school. But the benefits that we see are really the same as any other extracurricular activity that the kids who are in esports, their teamwork ability goes up, they have more coordination, they have more confidence and problem solving skills. They have the ability to handle difficult emotions like anxiety and stress, and even to communicate more clearly when they're having big feelings. The benefits of participating in esports are very similar to the benefits of participating in any other team activity. And I could be on a soapbox about this probably for days about how important it is to allow children to be in extracurricular esports. One of the stats I'll share is that studies show over 80% of students who are in school sanctioned esports have never been in another extracurricular activity. So they're not kids that are like, do I do football or do I play Fortnite? Like they would do nothing or they could play
Right.
Fortnite and get those benefits. So I
Yeah.
won't go ahead.
And I think one of the things that, has been the most eye-opening for me in that space that you haven't even mentioned yet is the amount of opportunities and scholarships available
Yes.
for those students. It's some of the numbers that I've heard have just been insane, and I think it's great. You've got, a lot of potential there for all types of things. Liz, this is going to take you back a little bit. I was sitting there thinking it feels a lot like, when you've got a couple of people that are connected through a console and they're trying to meet a common goal or achieve something, and they're doing that over their headsets and they're communicating that back and forth. It feels like, Liz, that team building thing that we did where you had your eyes covered on the golf cart and we had to give you directions while you were driving.
That went terrible, by the
Yeah, that
way.
did not go
Um,
well. I'm sure that our active gamers will do a whole lot better with that than what we did, but it kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, it's like you're saying, it's not only all those benefits that they get, Hannah, just from being a part of those, but there's so many opportunities that are coming out of that field now.
Yeah, and I'll add too, even the next step. So there's the school stuff, there's the scholarships, and then there's also that these kids, as they're growing up through gaming, those are benefits that we as employers also get to utilize. That the kids who are growing up being team esports kids, they come to our companies with the technical skills and the communication skills and the problem solving skills. Like it's hard to train for those things, but they're just growing up wanting that anyway. So I just think it's
Absolutely.
so valuable.
Yep. Well, Hannah, you've had some really meaningful gaming experiences beyond just your kids. One with your brother, another from your own childhood. Can you share some of those stories and what they've meant to you?
Yeah, I would love to do that. So when I was planning my TEDx presentation, I was talking with my brother Amos about esports, and he shared with me that through video games is the number one way that he's connected with any of his nieces or nephews ever. And I thought people might judge him. And so one thing about Amos is that he lives in New Zealand, and before he was in New Zealand, he lived in Germany. So since my children have been alive, they've never lived in the same country as Uncle Amos.
Wow.
Before they played video games together, like they could have a phone call, but they would never call him and talk to him for an hour or really like about what's going on in their lives. But through video games, it's allowed him to connect with my kids and my brother's kids and play together and learn together and like maybe if nothing else, just see what I'm dealing with these feral children all day long. So that's been a really huge bonus for me. And then if you want to pop up that picture of my
Yeah.
family, the other thing that was a big experience for me is I grew up in rural South Dakota in the 90s. And I'm sure rural South Dakota is probably like rural Texas in a lot of ways that, the things that we did for fun were trying to ride wild cows in the field or touching the electric fence, daring your friends to do that, like all of those universal childhood experiences. And my parents actually were pretty scared of technology. They put our TV in the closet and locked it and said we weren't allowed to watch TV. We just had to go play outside. So that was most of my childhood up until this fateful Christmas in the 1990s sometime when they gifted us a Nintendo 64. And I remember thinking it was kind of weird that they were giving us an electronic when we weren't even allowed to watch TV. But the way that this allowed my brothers and I to connect was so huge. You can flip to the next picture if you would like. We would sit and play, like I said, Diddy Kong Racing together for hours. And I was not great at it, but sometimes I could beat them, and that felt pretty good. But I would say, like, the true joy and the part of this that resonates with me still is playing with my dad during those times. Like, I'm sure a lot of you guys, the relationship with my dad was pretty complex. That sometimes he was really strict and a disciplinarian, and then there was these other parts of him that were just so fun and hilarious and like just all in on us. And when we got to play and race together, that was the person that we got to see and show up and connect with. I remember a story that my brother Ezra, he's actually in this picture, but he was sick, so he's underneath of the blanket in the back. You can kind of see the top of his head. But he was playing Halo, fast forwarded to the early 2000s. He was playing Halo at home, and my dad came home for his lunch break and just sat down and started gaming with him. And pretty soon, half an hour goes by, and then an hour, and then 2 hours have passed. And finally, Ezra turns to him and said, Dad, don't you have to be at work? And my dad said, Work can wait. We're saving the world now.
I
And
like that.
yeah, it was moments like that that like my dad understood that this was connection and that this was the way that we as teenagers, even in the early 2000s, needed to connect with him. He was not good at video games. He was terrible at video games, but that's not why he was doing it. He was doing it to connect with us, and he's been gone now for several years, but I think it's really interesting that I've kind of found this connection with my kids through video games the same way that he connected with us.
That's awesome.
So I know there are parents on here watching who want to connect with their kids but don't know how to start. Hannah, what would you say to those parents that are interested?
I would say that, like, I don't know any parent who started playing video games and we're good at it. Like, we're all terrible at it to begin with. I mean, like, maybe some people played growing up and that's awesome. But, it doesn't matter if you're good. The important part is just sitting down and making time to connect with your kids. I think that the benefits definitely outweigh any sort of time that you're committing to it. And to me, it's a really valuable use of time to connect with my kids that way. I'd say just do it. Just try it and understand that you're probably going to be terrible, but it gives your kids a really great opportunity to teach you too, and let them be patient with you as you're learning something new.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I will tell you, Hannah, I agree with you 100%. Just real quick story is I think back to the pandemic and, everybody's locked up looking for things to do. And I feel like everybody was like, what is the one thing? I feel like that's a question you can ask people. What is the thing that you learned during the pandemic? Some people learned an instrument or learned a new language or took up crochet or, just random things that were always on their to-do list and never made time to do it.
Hmm.
And when I get asked that question, mine is I learned how to play Fortnite.
That's
And
awesome.
so, Benjamin at the time must have been 9 years old or so. And I sit down and start playing, and Brooklyn was playing a little bit too. And the three of us played and have just, like I said, a great time. The first time, like I said, was completely entertainment just from watching me scream and cuss at the screen. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, there is that aspect of it that is letting your kids teach you. And I
Hmm.
will never forget, like, Benjamin still talks trash to me, like, Dad, you're no good,
Yeah.
sort of a thing. But the first time you actually get a victory royale and like you
Yes.
actually save their butts and like you rub
Uh-huh.
it in their face every time after that they talk smack to you, like, hey, you remember last month I actually saved you.
Uh-huh.
So that's been a lot of fun, and it's a really cool feeling for me when they're connected with their friends across town, and
Hmm.
to hear Benjamin say, well, I'm going to get my dad to jump in and play, and you can hear the kids on the other side, they're like, whoa, your dad plays Fortnite.
Yes. Yes.
So it's kind of an ego boost. It makes you feel pretty
Yeah.
good that your kids friends think you're cool for it.
Hmm.
But the one thing I'll tell you in playing Fortnite, you've got all boys. And
Yes.
when I was playing together with the kids, if Benjamin was getting shot at, or I'm like, nah, you can cover it yourself. You're good. But if someone was attacking Brooklyn and she's yelling, I'm getting shot at, it was like, I gotta drop whatever I'm doing to go help this baby girl and take care of her. I'm like, Benjamin, you're on your own.
Uh-huh.
It was just kind of a funny thing that I noticed, a little more protective over my daughter in that gaming format.
I would say that my boys are so protective over me when we play together, which I think is hilarious too. That
Yep.
like I'm still really bad. And whenever I get shot at, they're like, Mom needs help, we gotta help her. They
Oh,
just swarm me. Like I
yeah.
actually do need help. I'm really bad at this.
Well, thank
And
you for sharing all of that, Hannah. That's great. And it's a really cool experience to hear the connections that you made. And I know exactly what you mean, talking about with your brother Amos and just with
Mhm.
your kids as well. There's times you sit across from the dinner table with the kids and try to have those conversations. It's like, mom, dad, I don't want to have that conversation. I want to
Yeah.
talk about it. But when you're sitting right next to them, parallel on the screen, you're both playing the same game. It's amazing how much conversation you get to work into that. Even if it's how was your day, what did you have for lunch, that sort of thing. It
Hmm.
doesn't feel as uncool to talk to your parents when you're doing it
Yes.
side by side in a gaming platform. So I've seen the same thing myself. It does allow for connection there that you're probably going to get some pushback on if it's just a face-to-face conversation at home.
100%. And I will echo what you said. My kids' friends think I'm really cool too. Yeah, so if you want cool parent points, just play video games with your kids.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
So thank you for sharing that with us, Hannah. And stick around. We may have some questions for you that come up. And at this point, I'm going to toss it over to Liz, and Liz is going to give us a little bit of a tech talk for optimizing your own gaming experience.
Yes, so thank you, Russell, and thank you, Hannah, for all those fantastic insights. We all know gaming isn't just about having fun, it's also about having the right setup. So if you don't have the right setup, then a lot of times everything that you're gonna do is gonna make you mad versus having a good experience. So when it comes to broadband, you have to have a high speed, reliable connection. That's probably the key to having, a good gaming experience. We can also talk a little bit about wired versus wireless connections. Wi-Fi is always convenient. It's always probably the easiest to access because it's spread all throughout your home, but it's not always the most reliable for gaming. So for gaming, a wired Ethernet connection is going to give you a much more stable and faster connection directly to your console or computer, which is critical for reducing latency and lagging during online play. So, and that's a lot more popular nowadays than back whenever we were growing up. There was no such thing as online gaming, but now it's one of the most popular things that people of all ages do. So you should always consider running a Ethernet cable directly from your router to your console or computer. Um, if you prefer the flexibility of wireless or just don't have access to doing a hardwired connection, it's important to make sure that your Wi-Fi is up to the task. So make sure that you have a strong router, possibly extenders or a mesh network may need to be involved to make sure you have the best signal in all areas of your home. Especially if there are multiple devices connecting to your network. The more devices you have, you want to have a good, reliable, strong wireless connection. So here at YK, we can actually help you with both. We do offer wired solutions as well as whole home Wi-Fi solutions to make sure you're getting the best experience possible. So we can do an Ethernet drop for you to your console. We can also set up those mesh units that you need. And it's also not just about speed when it comes to gaming. Latency matters too. So you definitely want a connection that has low ping times, especially whenever you're, in the heat of the moment in battle. You don't want somebody to come across and just shoot you, and there you go. So latency is the delay between the actions and the server's response. So high latency causes lag, and that's not what we want.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that information, Liz. And we are going to talk a little bit about reaching us for support. But before we do, let's launch our second poll of the webinar. And so let's talk about any pain points that you may be experiencing when it comes to gaming. Are you experiencing any lagging, stuttering? Maybe you've got some dead zones when it comes to Wi-Fi around your house. Maybe it's others using the network and you just need more bandwidth, or can't get help fast enough. Maybe you're with a provider that doesn't respond as quickly as you would like for support, or maybe all's good in the hood. So we'll give everybody just a second there to respond.
Well, I know for us three, it better be all good in the hood.
It better be good in the hood. All right, so let's end the poll and share the results. Looks like, let's see, 2/3 of our group is all good in the hood, and looks like we have maybe one that is experiencing some lagging or stuttering, which is a great segue to our next part, Liz. Just if you're having any of those issues like lagging going on, we're here to help. And we want to do everything that we can to give you the tools that you need for the best gaming experience. Liz, why don't you talk a little bit about how to reach us for support?
Right. So anytime you need help 24/7, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, you can call us at 361-771-3334. Hit option 2 for tech support. You can also go to ykc.com/help. You'll be able to chat live with someone, reach out. And also, we have a network status page that lets you check to see if it's a widespread outage or if your issue could be dedicated just to your home at the time. So check that out. We are available and here for you every day, all day.
That's right. All right, so let's talk about Q&A. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop those into the chat. And while we wait for those questions to come in, let's talk about what we've got coming up next month. July, we're going to do Beat the Heat with Streaming Services 101. We're going to talk about streaming platforms, bandwidth requirements, and how to troubleshoot some common streaming issues at home in the air conditioning. It's going to be July, folks. It's going to be in South Texas. And Liz, you and I have already been talking about it. It's that time of the year where don't even bring me your problems because it's too hot to deal with.
No, do not
So,
bring me your problems, and make sure deodorant is a must.
deodorant is a must this time of year. So yeah, we'll be talking about that next month. And I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A. Liz, you want to talk about our June promo for anybody who's joining us live?
Of course. So for our promotion for June, you get 1 month free when you upgrade your current speed with YK or whenever you sign up for a new service with us. So all you have to do is give us a call and mention the June webinar, and we will get you fixed up.
All right. And what do you say we have a gift card drawing?
Yes.
We've got a $25 gift card to Jackson Street Coffee and Market. Go get you breakfast, go get you lunch, and that is on us for joining us today live. And our winner for today, let's spin the wheel and see who we've got. And it looks like our winner today is going to be Maria Montez. So Maria will be reaching out with your gift card. Come by the office, pick it up, or we will get with you on how to get that over to you. Any closing thoughts, Hannah or Liz, before we end it today?
No, this was great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Sure. Well, we are glad to have you as our first official guest, Hannah, and maybe we'll find some topics that we can bring you back at some point later in the year.
Yeah, I'd love to come talk again. And I was thinking with your staying home and watching TV during the summer, that is the opposite. In South Dakota, it is so cold in the winter that we all just Netflix all winter long, and now is the only time we get to go outside.
Yep, it's totally opposite here. So
Yeah.
Yes. We've been to South Dakota a time or two, and it is definitely different weather over there compared to
Yes,
what
it
we're
is.
used to.
all right, thanks, Liz. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.